Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chief Concerns on your Bleacher Report stream. This is a special report. This is the off-season report from your reigning champs and your back-to-back champs and your foreshadowing three-peat champs. Chiefs are back, baby, and we're back on the Bleacher Report for now.
Right.
Back, baby. So far, obviously, legal tampering began yesterday. The offseason officially began yesterday. Monday, everyone could start signing guys. But so far, Chiefs haven't made any splashy moves. They retained Chris Jones, probably the number one guy in free agency. They tagged JariusSneed, one of the top corners in free agency. And then they brought back some of their guys. Mike Pennell, they signed to a 1-year deal. Drew Tranquill, 3-year deal. Deion Bush, safety, 1-year deal. And then Irv Smith Jr., tight end from Cincinnati, the one guy we've signed from another team so far. So with this episode, guys, I want you guys to kind of break down and give us your grades. And obviously, the first weekend, technically it's only 24 hours, not even 24 hours since the start of this thing. So I want us to see where everyone's at so far. A lot of Chief fans are kind of getting restless with not really getting that big splashy receiver signing yet. But I want to hear from you guys. You guys, two sound, solid minds here. Where do you guys have the Chiefs right now with your grade report so far with this offseason?
So I'll start. I tell you what, I think we got an A, to be honest with you, for the simple fact that our main priority was Chris Jones. And Chris Jones is who we got signed for a long-term deal. Hopefully he'll end as a Chief. So that, to me, was the most important thing, is getting the best defensive tackle in the league signed up for him not to go anywhere else. Because without Chris Jones, we won't have the 3 Super Bowls, and this will put us on a path to getting a 3-peat, and maybe not even more, maybe a 4-peat. Should I even say that right now? Is that too early?
5-peat, maybe.
5-peat, why not? Yeah, right.
So further notice.
Yeah. And the thing is, we got to take it, all in context, because the Chiefs are kind of taking things slow, but for the priority, what they needed to do, they've done. And the same thing hasn't happened with Sneed going anywhere else right now. At this moment, they're still evaluating that process. Irv Smith is a guy that I like a lot. Big, strong tight end. He's going to be upgrade from maybe, Blake Bell, because he can receive the football. He can do everything, I think, physically that you need him to do. And he's a viable receiver in the game. And so he'll be able to come in. I think hopefully this might be a home where he can revamp his career. So I like the Irv Smith signing. Deion Bush being signed back again, right? Very valuable special teams player. Made some big plays for us during the season when we needed him to show up. And so that's what you want to be able to do. For a guy to come out on special teams, do a great job, come out on the field, and contribute like he did as well is a plus. Mike Pennell, big on Mike. I always call him, man, that joker got the guns. Or the anaconda, what he's got, the pythons. That's what Hulk Hogan used to call them, the pythons, right?
24-inch.
Yeah, I think Mike got him beat. But we got him back, man. So he's a powerful man up front, and that's what we needed, a run stopper, somebody that will have depth at that position. And so there was a little bit of need there, somebody right beside Chris Jones. And so I love this signing with Mike Pennell. It made sense. I'm glad we got him back. Who else? Drew Tranquill. Okay. Easy deal. Drew came in and played absolutely lights out ball when Bolton was out and when Willie Gay was down too. Drew Tranquill was a starter in this league. And so him coming in, doing a proven year with the Chiefs, we got what we wanted. And I think Drew got what he wanted also. He got a Super Bowl, but he also found a home that he could strive in. That's what I love about his signing. So to me, they got an A right now for this time. It's patience, people. Come on, listen, it's patience during all season. I see other people going other places, but guess what? Everybody is chasing us. They're chasing us. So that's why I have us graded at as an
A. I like it. I agree with the Chris Jones thing. That's one thing people have to understand. It's we had to keep him in house, and he was the number one by a long shot. He was the number one guy going into this free agency. Everyone had him as the number one guy. The Raiders were going to throw the bag at him right when the free agency opens. They signed Christian Wilkins to pretty massive deal, which they probably would have thrown the bag at Chris Jones. And Chris Jones is press conference a couple days ago, he said that, he imagined himself, he said he was trying to figure out how he would look in a different team's uniform, a Raiders uniform. And he said, luckily, I'm never have to think about that. So, that there was teams out there who were going to throw the bag at him, and we kept him in-house, and we spent a lot of money on that. So now it's, bargain bin shopping, and it's going to take some time to get to that point.
Well, they say money talks, man, right? And so the thing is, when you have a special rapport here and relationship with guys that you don't want to see leave, there's no reason he needed to go anywhere else. I didn't want to see him in a different jersey either. You don't want to see that. I know he was probably having nightmares waking up in a Raiders uniform, like, I'm a Raider. You don't want to do that. So he got what he wanted.
JD, before we get to Teja's grade, you said A. What would you want to see maybe today? And then there's rumors right now, the Curtis Samuel, the Hollywood Brown rumors, which we talked about in our show Chief Concerns last night. What would the Chiefs have to do to make it an A+ for your grade?
Oh man, A+ grade. Get a Justin Jefferson on a deal that is easily that we can bring him in. Possibly get a left tackle instead of going in through the draft for a good deal that is a good guy. But also too, maybe getting a rush guy. Also, defensive end, because Charles Omenihu's going to be out. But I think, man, where we are right now, we're in a good place. We're in a good spot. And I think at this moment, we know free agency is one of those. It's a long game. It really is. It takes some time. And then you got the draft coming up as well. So you're doing a lot of evaluation here. But as far as the things that we needed to show up, I think we necessarily did at this moment. Justin Jefferson would be A+, by the way, if we do that.
Well,
Okay?
that just alone would be an A+. Now I forget about what it does to our entire team. Just that signing would be an A+.
Yeah. I don't know.
What if it was Jefferson instead of Jones?
Ooh.
No. I would rather
Would that bring it down to like a B, a B-?
Yeah. For sure.
So if I could give like an incomplete, I would, but we're not doing that here. So I'm giving it a B. Chris Jones and Tranquil were both A moves. And I like the Big Mike and Bush re-signing. Big Mike and Bush sounds like a Cartoon Network show. But I think very both solid. I like Irv Smith signing, very low risk, 1-year prove-it deal, can catch, still young and athletic, has become a decent blocker. Same price as Blake Bell, so I just see it as an upgrade. That's already we upgraded one position technically on our roster. I'm not going to complain about our lack of spending yet because it's really just false. It's perception more than anything else why people think we're not spending as much. We got the most expensive non-quarterback in free agency. Just because he was on our team last year doesn't mean we could just forget that he was a free agent. He could have signed anywhere in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, right? So just because he was ours, I don't think people count that as a way to get better or stay the same. But we didn't get better because obviously we already had him, but we can't even talk about how much we would have gotten worse if we didn't get him, right? So that was huge. I think a lot of fans are frustrated by the lack of movement because they see the Mahomes restructure. And like I said on Twitter, Mahomes restructure is like an earthquake, and then the signing afterwards, like the aftershock. I think people were sitting there like waiting for that like second news to drop, and it hasn't happened yet. So I think people are getting a little impatient and frustrated. But I see Mahomes restructure like a big like a tax refund. We can't just go out and buy the new gaming system and TV with it. You have to be smart with it. We have a lot of expenses. We have an expensive house. We have expensive cars. We can't just go out and rush and buy the new gadget just because the tax credit wasn't free money. We earned it, So
right.
That Mahomes money came with some clawing, came with some long-term strategies, some long-term things that we will have to iron out at a later time. So it's not just we got free money in the mail and it's like, oh, just get Hollywood, get so-and-so. Veach is taking that tax check and he's investing in like AI companies at this point. So it's all about the future. It's all about investing smart. And we have to be calculated with every dollar we spend, especially after the Jones contract, because That Jones contract was like asking your wife, do you want the E class or the S class? She's like, I want the S. You're like, all right, well, we're eating ramen for the next year. All right. So like, I'm not calling Big Mike and Deion Bush, ramen, but they're not splashy signings. They're filling in the gaps of roster spots that we need. We're not just going out and replacing them with like higher and bigger name guys for a little more money. We have to be really super smart. The cost of retaining Jones was that important. And I'd rather have him than not. So everything else that comes, because everyone also said, oh, this isn't, a normal Veach thing. He overspent on Jones. We maybe could have got him for less. That was the cost. That was it.
Right.
That's what we had to do. Do you think Veach left money on the table? I mean, he did what he had to do. It was probably the lowest number. And if you think he would have gone for that same price or lower somewhere else, forget about it. He would have gotten more money on the free market. So with the Jones splurge comes money we have to save at other positions. Now, I want to also get to why I think it's not an A, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just frustrated because mostly the recent reports, I don't know if they're true or not, there's a lot of BS and smoke screens out there, that we still don't know what we're doing with Sneed. And to keep him or trade him, and you would think we would have made up our minds by now and we have a strategy, and maybe we do. Obviously, they're not just saying it on Twitter what Veach is thinking. He's not just tweeting out to everybody explaining himself. But maybe we're waiting for all the top corners to completely dry up off the market. Then we had the last couple teams by the to be able to just name our price and they have to match it. But maybe we don't know what we're really doing with him in that situation yet. And I don't think it's stopping us from making moves because we're obviously in a bunch of negotiations with a bunch of different receivers and players. I keep seeing our name pop up, but I think it's slowing us down just a little bit. And I think that is a disadvantage to have. And I think not knowing if we're going to have 19 million tomorrow in extra picks or a cornerback that we don't have to sign or replace, I think that does put us at a slight disadvantage. And again, this is just the outside looking in as a fan and someone who's not in those rooms. They probably know exactly what they're going to do at this point. They just haven't actually made the move and stamped the paper yet. But on our side of it, that's why I graded it down just a little bit because it seems a little uncertain.
Well, I tell you what, they to me, I know they know what they're doing, right? And like you said, they have to take in every dollar what they want to do with it. And so if you're doing an evaluation of guys during the offseason, and we got to mind you, this is all happening during the season, toward the end of the season, talking about deals, what are you going to do with a guy? So they've been evaluating, Sneed ever since the season, like Super Bowl, what we're going to do with this guy, right?
I would hope so. Yeah.
So we're talking, you get down to the combine, start talking to other teams, GMs and coaches about who a guy is. I think for them, they're just trying to put themselves in a better position, right? So to them, they're like, well, look, if we invest in 19 in Sneed, it's not going to kill us. It's not going to hurt us, right? So they got the Pennell and the Bush because they knew who you had in the building. And that's important to know who you got, right? And these guys are consistent guys that everybody likes in the locker room. So that was a good signing. The Sneed thing to me, because we've seen how some of these receivers, like that's one of our needs is receiver.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the money to put in for like a Calvin Ridley and then a Mike Evans and those type of guys. We just didn't, right? And the reason I brought up Justin Jefferson is because you could get in here and you could do like the 19 million for Sneed if you wanted to do that, right? Tag him, whatever you want to do for the year. And the very next year, you can talk about something else, right? And move on. But for me, for Sneed, it's tactics, it's strategy, right? And so if you can move up to get two guys in the draft, you know what I mean? Like a second round and a fourth round this year, maybe I don't know, fourth or sixth the very next year for Sneed, why don't you do it, right? So you make teams overpay for it. That's what you do. And that's you dangle him out there as much as possible. Look, I'm going to put this carrot in because I know you need corners. Corners is one of those things, position is sought out in this league. If you don't have a good corner with all these great wide receivers out there, you are going to have a hard time getting torched. And we've seen it. We look at a team that was in the Super Bowl the year before prior, right? Philadelphia. So they don't have good corners. They don't have good secondary. Torched. It looked terrible. And the reason was it was getting burnt by everybody. They just couldn't keep up. And so that I think because of the position especially the need of it. Sneed is like one of those. He's just a very valuable piece that you could just move, a chess piece, if you will, right? I mean, this is chess right now. The teams are playing, so
Sure.
I think I think it's what it is more so than anything else. Hopefully, we're chess masters, right? That's what I'm looking for. This is maybe beats his old Bobby Fischer, right? Maybe
I was gonna say Bobby
yeah.
Fischer.
So that's why I look at it. That's why I say the patience of the part right now with the Chiefs is so necessary. It's so necessary. We knee jerk on everything because it's what we want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything else in the NFL is like, hey man, hold up. We don't know. We don't quite know exactly what's going on, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Mike Williams comes available. Renfro comes available. OBJ, I know we ain't really, we talked about having him, but there's guys that are going to come available that you may be able to get for a better price than before then, right? So,
totally. Because there's two sides of it all. There's their side of it too. And if their market's drying up, we were maybe a destination they wouldn't have considered before. They talked to a bunch of teams and realized, I'm not getting that much. I'm getting like $6 million. Casey's offering $4 in a ring or $6, $4 in a ring or $6. So when you do that and you're like, it's basically a 1-year deal. So if I'm going to do a 1-year deal, I'm going to be like the number 2 option in Kansas City with Mahomes and go deep into the playoffs at very least AFC Championship, right? So that's that. We have to, be that enticing to teams or players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would probably give us a B+, and I have seen in the chat here most everyone's saying receiver. I would say B+. I would give it an A+ if and it's probably gonna happen in the next few days here. But you give me Hollywood Brown, you give me Curtis Samuel, give me one of those guys, then boom, you take off all the things that I want. We kept Chris Jones, we tagged JariusSneed so we can keep him or we can trade him. And then you bring in a receiver, a guy like Curtis Samuel, who's so dynamic, we could utilize him in a lot of ways. A guy like Hollywood Brown, who could take the top off defenses. I'd be happy with either one. I know everyone's got like a particular guy they want as far as the remaining free agent wide receivers out there. And JD and I talked about this on the show last night. But since then, there's more rumors that have come out. Chiefs are apparently interested in Mike Williams. The Chiefs, there's mutual interest with Tyler Boyd and the Chiefs now. So I'm going to throw this at you, JD. I know last time we did this with Hollywood Brown, Samuel, and Josh Reynolds. So I'm going to add a few guys to that list. If you had to pick one of Tyler Boyd, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown, Hunter Renfro, OBJ, who are you? Who'd be the one receiver you take?
Are you just saying just based off of talent alone, or are we talking about like the whole context of structure of money and everything? I mean, that's really a loaded question.
I know. Let's say if all money was equal. Of those guys.
Okay. If all money is equal, Mike Williams would be maybe my first pick. I like Hunter Renfro. I think for me, because of his versatility, I like Curtis Samuel and I like Tyler Boyd. And then it would be probably Brown and everybody else. That's how I look at it. Mike Williams is always a crop because he got hurt. But when what he developed into as being a number one, I mean, literally he made it where you were almost questioning who was the best guy, who was the better receiver over there between him and
Keenan
Allen. Right. And I was just like, Mike Williams has made his way to being a legit receiver in the league. Yep. Big guy, big body, big hands, and he looked good going up there and catching footballs. He was a problem. He was. And he's a hard guy to stop. Renfro, because of what he can do. We've seen him in the past catch footballs. He runs great routes. He's got great hands. He's Mr. Reliable, right? That's the guy that you're looking for. I've said this, Marcus, and I said it on the show last night. We're looking for a guy who you're going to get 60 balls, 60 or 70 a year. Renfro can do that. Mike Williams can do it. Hollywood Brown has done it before. Curtis Samuels can do those things, right? And so Tyler Boyd, same thing. He's another guy. And look, he got the same. He almost fell into the same category like Curtis Samuel. When you got two monsters around you, they're going to eat up the catches. That's what's going to happen. When one of them went out, with Higgins was out, Tyler Boyd was the guy. He was catching a lot of footballs.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man, but that's my list. If everything was equal, that's what I would take.
Tej, who would be your who would be your receiver of choice if all things were equal?
It would also come down to like years too, right? A 1 year prove it deal. I would go for the guy that's exhibited the most talent out of all those guys, which is Mike Williams, and the highest potential. 1 year prove it for me just means you're betting on the best possible year from said player. And given their track record and what they're capable of, I would go and bet on Mike Williams for 1 year. Multi-year, I'd go a little younger if I could. I'm looking at this with like a draft structure in mind too. If you go Hollywood Brown, then you don't really need to be like forced to take Worthy because everyone's like, oh, Worthy, track speed downfield. We don't have to do that anymore. Hollywood gives you that, right? So you could go the Ladd McConkeys of the world in the draft and just fill up every area of the field with another monster who dominates that part, right? I think we need guys who can do everything, but can like specialize in one thing especially, right? So that's and Mike Williams can obviously go deep too and just jump ball people. We've seen him do it to us a million times, so we know that from experience. That's another guy I think, but I like Hollywood. I like Mike Williams. I do like Samuel. I've seen people say that some of his skill sets and traits are a little Rice-ish. A lot of behind the line of scrimmage passes, at line of scrimmage passes. We need guys who can actually get downfield and run deep routes. Maybe he hasn't been utilized that way. Maybe we could. I'd say Mike Williams, I'd say Brown, and then I'd probably go Samuel and Boyd are pretty close on that regard next. But I'm just down to fill the most holes possible so we can just go BPA at every pick. I'd love to be able to do that because there are going to be some guys that fall that you didn't expect that were going to fall. McDuffie was one of them. We didn't even he said it to him himself. We didn't even expect you to be there, dude. So like when he was climbing down to the 20s, we were like, well, we need to take some of this draft capital and go up and get him now. Like we did not expect him to be there. And look at the position we're in now because of it. Now someone like Sneed is expendable because of opportunity in a draft. So you just never know who's going to fall. You never know who's going to be there. And I just think the more we get now, the more we can just take BPA in the draft and just kill it.
We knew why Steve was kind of expendable now anyway, because you have two guys behind him that can play ball. Big lanky corners that have the same body type.
Yep.
Skill set is something they still need to grow into to get to where Sneed was, and Sneed developed in those 4 years that he needed. He was here. So that I think is a great case of saying that, like, hey, you got Jalen Watson and you got Joshua Williams, right?
Yep.
Out here, we see these guys come out there and they play their tails off. They've done a really good job on doing that. So, yeah.
And this draft's pretty rich in. It's got a lot of guys who play press man at the line of scrimmage really well that are handsy, who have some versatility with zone too. So I think you could find some of those guys in rounds 3 to 5 who can come into our scheme with our pass rush. We just need to get their hands on a receiver at the line and just pretty much guard a guy for 3 seconds until Chris Jones and company get to the quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
JD, you had logic last night. I hearing Teja talk about Curtis Samuel, and I've seen that a lot as far as him catching a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage, and that's kind of duplicative of what Rashee Rice does. But last night you made a good point that we saw Rashee Rice, what he did in college, and what we saw him at times do down the field, we could actually unlock him and unleash him in that kind of capacity. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So to me, what I've seen last year is, because Rashee Rice was trying to grasp the offense, and we needed him to be the number one. He just kind of emerged as the number one, which we didn't really think he was going to be at the very beginning of the year. And he shouldn't have been, to be honest with you, but he did. And that tells about how good he is as a receiver. Now, what you can do with Curtis Samuel is now you have to do the gadget plays with Rashee Rice. You can actually open him up a little bit more. You can have him go deep, catch the ball. We know he's got strong hands. I mean, he surprisingly, he runs great routes, and he can deep ball. He's a bigger body. He can go up and go get the ball. We've seen him catch it one back shoulder pass. And so Rashee Rice running post routes, digs, comebacks from the outside, that's what I want to see Rashee Rice do. He has that ability. The thing is, you start wasting him because nobody else is doing nothing on the outside. And so we had to run, wide receiver screens and whatnot to him because he was kind of the bigger receiver. Curtis Samuel, who's 5'11", 198, 200 pounds. I mean, he's packed with muscle. The guy runs a 4.3. I don't know if everybody understands this, but he can actually take the top off the defense. He's fast enough to do it. He's run deep routes too. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, he is more Debo-ish than anybody else in the league besides Debo. So you could put him in the backfield and run the ball with him. You could do a whole lot of different things with Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because you had McLaurin and you had, John Dotson on the outside, well, he gets lost in it, but he still caught 60 balls, right? Even in that offense with those two guys around him. So to me, if you have Curtis Samuels do some of that, let's just call it grunt work, right? Some of the little things that you do. Rashid Rice, you let him torch everybody else, okay? Let everybody else worry about Rashid Rice going down the field. I think Rashid Rice would love to do that. I think his jack yards is incredible. We've seen the explosion that Curtis Samuel has, just like Rashid Rice. But Rashid Rice being a big receiver, I want to throw some deep balls to Rashid Rice. Throw some up to him. He's got the speed. We know that. So why not play him like you would like a Jamar Chase or, like you said, maybe a Mike Williams, a guy like that. Rashid Rice has that ability. And so I don't want to be locked in where we have, Hollywood Brown, who's a smaller guy, 5'8", 179 pounds, probably with 2 5-pound weights in his pocket. It may get hurt getting hit, right? He doesn't have the versatility to run out of the backfield who could take some plays from Pacheco and maybe some reverses and stuff like that. He's kind of a gadget guy. We just need somebody to go deep. I'd rather that be Rashid Rice or Curtis Samuel or somebody else, right? Or even if you retain McCole Hardman, bring McCole Hardman back for a couple of mil, to do that, maybe the deep routes. But at least you will get a guy, and then you can get a guy in the draft that can still have that speed, who is big and do the same thing with less money. So that's the reason I say that, because I think he just has more versatility. And like I said, more like Debo.
So no matter who we sign, you're still down for a receiver early, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely.
Receiver market is expensive. So go find your guy in the draft, maybe even multiple ones. And you keep taking the way people used to do or do quarterbacks, like try to grab one kind of early every year to take a shot at one. I'd say do that receiver, man. Do that every year. Grab a guy in the top 3 rounds that you like a lot.
Every single year. And this has got to be an amigo. This is what I'm talking about. So whoever you sign free agency, you know when you're going to get another first round wide receiver, right? Because like you said, if you're trying to take a 1-year friendly deal, then fine. That's okay. Shoot. Develop the guy that's going to be here for the future, right? Have him be on a guy who has a little bit under his belt, like Curtis Samuel. He's been around for a little bit, right? So Mike Williams, veteran guy. That's what you want to be able to do. But you want to make somebody who's going to be here, who's going to catch at least 67 balls if that young receiver is still developing. You know what I mean? So you need that productivity.
That is a big reason why I do. And I hear you on the Brown just being really light and small and susceptible to being nicked up in injuries. I would just rather, if they're just hell-bent on getting like a field stretcher deep threat, like guy who just does it the best. That's what he can do. That's who he is. I would rather bank on a guy I know that has been successful at the NFL than banking on a rookie whose like main feature is doing that. Because if he doesn't do that, it doesn't translate, then we did lose a very valuable pick and it didn't go anywhere and he's a bust. Whereas we know right now Hollywood Brown will not be a bust. Will he be as good as we want him to be? No, but we know he's got a floor to him that he already does that well. So we can just be like, okay, we got the field stretcher now. Whereas if we draft one, are we really sitting there going, oh, we got our field stretcher? Do we? Let's see if we got our field stretcher. Let's see how it works now. Well, because the Chargers drafted Quentin Johnson thinking they got something that they don't exactly have yet. And they're still like, shoot, we don't even know what we have in this guy yet. I don't want to be in the Quentin Johnson position. I want to be in a position where we know we have that at least. And then you find another guy who can do other things as well, like a McConkey. I love Keon Coleman. There's a lot of guys in the draft, especially big guys.
Well, that's why I say like Curtis Samuel would be good because you could open up Rashid Rice.
He's proven too. I like Samuel like in that way.
Let Rashid Rice do the deep routes. Let him go get those things. Go for the football. High point the ball when you need him for it. And so if you did that, that's the same thing on, if you keep like a McCole Hardman here to get a deep ball, fine. That's good. I do like Brown. to me, I mean, the smaller frame is the one that I'm kind of out on. I'm kind of out on that.
True, but Mike Williams is a big dude. He gets injured probably just as much as Brown has the past couple of years, if not more. So
that's a good point.
He does.
Bigger doesn't always mean more sturdy. It just means they also fall harder too.
I do. Look,
who am I talking to right now? I'm talking to a big guy who fell hard. You know?
Yeah, right. As a big guy, okay. I'm gonna speak on big guys here. All right. I'm having the big guys. All right. But the one thing that Mike Williams could do, okay, he could body guys up. We've seen him just be able to just go up and just like literally just tower over guys and catch the football. And it's just like, how you gonna defend that? What do you do with that thing? Yeah. Right? Where Brown could come back and just like, oh, my hamstring is tweaked. Oh, okay. There you out, right? Mike, look, we just need for you to just, catch one in the end zone or something. Throw one up to you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, especially if we're just trying to get a guy who can keep defenses honest. I don't want to spend $15 million on a guy just to keep defenses honest. That's an expensive, that's an expensive skill set. Samuel can keep teams honest, once in a while by going deep. You don't need to spend that $15 million on that. And I don't know what Hollywood's demands are, but if it's somewhere between Mooney and Ridley and like the 15 to 17 range, if you can get two of the other guys for near the same price, I would even rather do that.
Yeah.
I don't think Boyd's asking for 15 to 17. I do not. I don't think so. I don't think Samuel's asking for 15 to 17. They're probably closer to the Mooney range.
Yeah, hopefully they're asking.
Well, yeah, you never know. You never
know. These suckers are looking at everybody else get paid. Like, hey, man.
I know. It's I mean, that's why the 1 year. That's why the Williams is so enticing because he's got the veteran. He's done it. He did get his big fat contract at one point. So he's not necessarily the other position the other guys are in, and he's 30 and he wants to win now. So it's like, and if he's confident in his skills, which I'm sure he is, he knows he can come to Kansas City and tear it up with 1 year and then make a lot of money one last big contract next year.
Yeah, and also in division too. So you get to come to your division rival and follow the Drew Tranquil model. And Drew Tranquil on Twitter last night recruiting him and Hollywood Brown on Twitter, which I thought was awesome. The ultimate recruit right there. But one thing I will say to look to, and you guys kind of mentioned it, so going into this draft, drafting a receiver, and I think the one model that one team that we talked about in our show that's done this so well over the last few years since getting rid of Devontae Adams, the Packers. 2 years ago, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson in the same draft. They hit on both those guys. Last year they went Wicks, rookie, Jaden Reed, rookie. And Malik Heath, all those guys produced for them this past year, and they have a good model as far as having.
You said Wicks too.
Wicks too, yeah. A bunch of guys who are all rookie or sophomore receivers going into the next year, and so if that's a model we can follow, yeah, sure. I'd love for us to go get a veteran guy like a Samuels, a Hollywood Brown. I don't really care who it is, really. If it's one of those guys we've mentioned today, I'd love it. OBJ, I'm out on. I do not want OBJ unless he comes for like a 1 year, $3 million deal. I'm out on OBJ. He'd be the one guy I wouldn't be excited about. But yeah, I like us to follow that Green Bay Packer model. To just come away every draft drafting one or two guys, and hopefully they pan out.
You want a bunch of guys, especially with Mahomes out there. You want a bunch of guys that defenses have to account for. Whereas last year, I feel like we had guys that defenses were like, I'm looking at Kelsey, I'm looking at Rice, I'm looking at Kelsey, I'm looking at Rice, and everyone else is like, Samuel, you can't do that. You have to watch him. Yeah. You have to watch Samuel. You have to watch Boyd. You have to watch Mike Williams. You have to watch Hollywood Brown. So you have to keep an eye on all these guys. They'll hurt you if you don't keep an eye on. You can't keep one eye on them. You have to actually watch them. So that's, I think, what we need. And that's what the Packers got. They got a bunch of guys that are good enough, even at this point in their young careers, that defenses have to openly account for every single play.
Yep. Who was talking about those two guys, Watson and Doubs, a couple of years ago? I was saying, man. Doubs,
No, Watson's a little brownish though. He comes off the field grabbing that hamstring a lot, don't he?
Guys, but that sucker could. But you gonna throw the ball? You could throw the ball out the stadium. But Patrick could do. That's all you need Watson to do. Just go up and go get it, right?
Yeah, I will say with the other guys, with Doubs and Reed, I feel like they've because with Watson's injuries, those guys have kind of leapfrogged him as far as being the guys on the receiver core there, which shows you that there's meat out there in the later rounds of the draft.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I saw someone comparing what receiver is now was like running back in the last 5 or 10 years, where it's just like an explosion of talent everywhere from all these small schools, big schools. The number 2 and 3 receivers are beating out the number 1 receiver in the NFL. And there's just so much out there that just like you can get a quality starter, possibly a Pro Bowler in the 4th, 5th, 6th round nowadays. So it's not just the top receivers. If you have guys you like in the later rounds, you think they can contribute, then, by all means. And this is a receiver-rich draft. So it's a good year. You're going to see receivers going crazy getting drafted the next first 2 rounds or so.
And also, let's remember the name Nico Remigio. I think he could be something this year. I think he could be a guy. I think he could be one of these Packer type guys we're talking about, the Heats of the world. I think Remigio could be one of those guys for us. I guess time will tell on that. I mean, I was also one talking to Justin Ross hype train last year, and as many of us were, and that didn't really turn out the way we wanted it to. And he's got another year. He's got another shot this year to get the hype train going again.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, guys. Well, we guys hope you enjoyed our off-season grade so far. Not even 24 hours into it. We'll be back on the Bleacher Report channels in April as we gear up for the draft and as the season continues. But you guys can find us on YouTube, and that's Chief Concerns. And you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcasts. That'll do it for us. I'm Marcus Dash. That right there is Jason Dunn, and that's my brother Teja Dash. We'll see you guys on the Chief Concerns channel. Love you, everybody.
Love you, fellas.
Love you guys. Later.
See you guys.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.